Hey everybody, so we're here at the gym today and we're going to make a dual video out of this. This is going to go on Facebook and YouTube. I had Joe here and we figured, we were talking and then, we're like, hey, let's get this on video, you know, and share it with the guys because we were discussing street fighting and how, and we were just talking about basically street fighting stuff. So you guys know or heard of Joe Cardinal. You've seen him on some of my clips before. So, go ahead, Joe.
We were talking basically about kind of some major groups of different kinds of martial arts out there. And there's obviously the combat sports that everybody knows, things like MMA and submission tournaments that are really good at preparing you as an athlete, you know, making you tough, getting you ready cardio-wise. But then there's other styles out there that are just focused on self-defense, things like knives, multiple attackers, and it seems like there's confusion between the two, and there's things that they can learn from each other, but often they tend to get segregated apart. So, you know, I've seen various videos of where you've taken a really good MMA athlete and put him in with some soldiers or some other people just to, you know, run some drills, and they make real obvious mistakes. They run into the center of a group of people, you know, or they grab a hold of someone and then the person pulls out a knife and starts shanking them, a practice knife. But basically it's kind of, they have the physical attributes, you know, and a lot of the fundamental skill set like wrestling and boxing, but still when the rules are gone in the drilling, they kind of miss out on what some of the self-defense people are working towards. Conversely, I've seen self-defense people who gas out right away, or, you know, just you know, they're emotionally out there for when someone's really in their face and attacking them like you would on a one-on-one match. So we're just kind of going back and forth on how to integrate your training, because you really need the best of both worlds if you're going to survive out there, if that's what your goal is. So,
well, you know, I use the term street fighting, and I'm never going to stop using it because it's a habit with me now. But when I discuss street fighting, it's kind of like when you discuss Italian cooking. All right. If you're raised in an Italian household, your standard of Italian cooking is more than a Pizza Hut or something like that, right? So somebody that's not, let's say, Italian may not have that kind of their Italian is different than our Italian. And that's how it is with the street fight. For me, the way I was raised and all the violence I saw, street fighting took on a death thing, okay? You were lucky if you survived it, all right? And many of the videos that I've witnessed, well, not many, all of the videos that I've seen, and again, that doesn't mean that I've seen a lot, but on YouTube, it's like your generic Italian cooking. It's not the real violence, you know, it's more pushing or getting in somebody's face. And now again, that all happens in whatever, but when it's a situation like that, one-on-one, the guy's unarmed, he's probably not very skilled, you know, the fitter, meaner guy's going to probably come out on top, all right? But when it's a true violence situation, it's a whole different dynamic, you know, and I'll tell you, the biggest difference I see between a sport thing and a self-defense situation is a sport athlete has the will to win. That's what drives him. I want to win this competition. I want to win this competition. Whereas the hardcore violent people have the will to kill. And that's a big difference. Because they will do whatever it takes to kill you. And I've known some great sportsmen, phenomenal athletes. I don't think they could kill. They don't have that in them. And that separates it all. So what do you have? The will to win or the will to kill? And in a street fight, you know, my definition of a street fight, ultimate violence, you may cross that bridge. You may have to go from thinking about winning, because what is winning in a street fight, to killing.
Or escaping and surviving, that's winning too. Some people, you know, sometimes you got to break contact because you're going to, you know.
Absolutely, but the definition of winning is different in a street fight. I've discussed this previously. You know, it's not knocking you out, or maybe it is. I mean, it's all encompassing, but it's damage assessment afterwards. You know, what kind of damage did I suffer here? And the damage that you suffered may not even be immediate. You know, you might have psychological damage down the line, okay, trauma down the line. You may cut somebody or have them bleed, and all of a sudden you find out months later you got HIV or hepatitis or something, okay? There's levels to this that may not be present in combat sports. And again, I believe that you have to know the legitimate combat type of techniques, but they have to be adapted. And you hit the nail on the head earlier when we were talking about some of the self-defense schools. And again, we're painting with a broad brush here. We don't know any individual schools that we're signaling out, but they may not have the conditioning physically or mentally for proper training. And also, do they have the right techniques as well? You know, who knows? Every school's different. There's no worldwide or even national or even local curriculum. It seems every school is an independent operator, so they can pretty much teach what they want to teach. But, you know, your instructor has to really know. He has to have experience.
So like, what are some examples of drills that you think, like guys who want to be ready or have at least be better prepared for the street? We talked a little bit about sparring 2-on-1 or group things. You also mentioned just like getting yourself exhausted before you go in and train.
Look, here's the first and foremost thing, and that is having an acknowledgement of what goes down. It's probably very difficult to describe a boxing match as efficiently or as effectively as watching a boxing match, okay? You can watch a boxing match with somebody and then they can see it, they got the visual, and then you can break down all the little techniques, the little subtleties and so on. And that's the same thing with a street fight. Most people have never really seen one. They really don't know. Their knowledge of a street encounter is some Hollywood film that over-exaggerates certain elements and under-exaggerates or undervalues other things. So exposure is one. And that you can get in a legal way by just doing proper research. And I've discussed this in the past. I can discuss it again if you want. But as far as being in a gym, yeah, I did mention about when you get attacked, most people, they're going to have an adrenaline rush. And you've got to simulate reality as much as you can. One of the best things to do is, let's say you were going to attack me in today's drill. It's for me to run around or whatever, get all out of breath to the point where I'm really fatigued and exhausted. You're fresh. Now you attack me, okay? Now my heart's going to be pounding a little bit. It's going to be racing because I'm exhausted. And also now it's critical. You know, if we went fresh, even, you don't have a chance against me. When I'm out, tired, ready to fall out, man, now you have that advantage. And that's what you got to do in your training. You got to handicap yourself, man. And give the bad guy, the aggressor, all the odds. Give him every edge. Give him every advantage so you can learn how to work out of that disadvantage, you know? And as I mentioned in the Stamp No Tap series, you know, I used to practice against live blades. I've been involved in street fights with blades and guns. And I've had that happen to me. There's a lot of martial arts out there who have practiced their art, and they're very good at the knife stuff, but they've never had to use it for real. And there's a big difference between me pretending to do this to you. Your reaction is going to be just what it was now, no reaction, okay? Whereas in a real world fight, you're probably going to have some sort of, I don't want to say violent reaction, but you're going to have a reaction that's going to change the way you fight and the way you even spar. So sparring, you know, with these love taps, I can't call that a simulation because it's not really simulating it to me, okay? It's more or less a drill, but you're not reacting properly, you know? Believe me, like if I touched your face like this with my hand or pounded you with a left hook, there's going to be two different reactions. So you got to bear that in mind.
What about other things like verbal assaults and things like that to psychologically get you in the mood? Because like when we're training in the gym, we're pretty friendly, you know? Yeah. We shake hands and then we come out, but do you think there's value to kind of almost like role playing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got to get in the guy's head, you know, and, you know, one of the best ways to do this is if you know your training partner, and you know he's sensitive about something, go for it. Start in on him. Get him enraged. Get him hostile, so he can see how he's going to really react in a hostile environment. A lot of times when you're hostile and full of rage, yeah, you might have some strength, but you also make a lot of mistakes.
Or you can be intimidated.
You could melt. You could get intimidated and whatever, and you may end up losing a friend. But hey, if he got so mad that he didn't want to wrestle with you or train with you, and he just said, "Oh, I'm done with this," wow, you're for sure not prepared for the street, you know, because man, some guy is going to perhaps really push you to the edge, or if you're a lady, push you to the edge of sexual assault or what have you. Yeah, you're training. You're a product of your training. The way you train in the gym is the way you're going to deal with things outside, you know, and you just can't always sugarcoat things. In the end, it's going to be bad news, man. You're not going to be prepared for what happens out there. Now, this is not everybody. I mean, some people just have that natural instinct. They're predators. They're go-getters. You know, they're meat eaters, and that's all good. You know, but do you really know if that's you or not? And you won't. Hopefully, you never have to find out, but you really won't until you have to be thrust into that situation. And it's becoming more commonplace now, unfortunately. I don't care how people want to spin it. There's a lot of, excuse me, a lot of crime out there at varying degrees. What else we were talking about before?
We talked a little bit about like practice weapons and things. Obviously, it's like you just said, like using magic markers or just touching someone isn't going to get the reaction.
No, they don't have its place, I suppose, but I mean, who am I to denigrate people who do that? And I'm not trying to step on anybody, but it's not real.
We just keep it in perspective of what
You have to keep it in perspective, you know. And I said before, you should handicap yourself. Sometimes train with one arm, train with one leg, because you may have an injury in real life pre the fight or because of the fight. Now you lost the use of your arm, you lost the use of your leg or something, you know. And how would you react? You know, like I say, handicap yourself, man. You know, lay on the ground and have you, the aggressor, and maybe another guy standing up, stomping you, kicking you, and all of that stuff, and see how it feels to try to get up from that. You know, how far you go with this is strictly up to what you can take mentally and physically. But you know, you gotta put yourself in that position, especially nowadays with the grappling craze and everything. You know, that's not always the smartest place to be in a street fight, man. You got to watch out. It's so antiseptic the way they make these videos, and the videos that you and I have seen. Some of the techniques are actually borderline ridiculous. Yeah, it might work, but not in that scenario, not in that scene. And you're actually putting someone in harm's way. I mentioned on another video, you got to assume everybody's got a weapon, that they're armed in some way, shape, or form, and act accordingly. You know, you would do that in all other walks of life. If you know for a fact that your car's got 1 gallon of gas, would you embark on a long cross-country journey before stopping at a gas station? No. You're aware I only got a gallon of gas. I better go get gas. Same thing with this. Would you, if I knew for a fact that you have a weapon on you, a gun that you can shoot me with, or a knife if I get close to you that you can stick me with, would I approach it the same way as I would if you didn't? You know, these are questions you have to ask yourself. So when I see certain techniques that are, you know, just making these great assumptions that the person is, you know, that I'm attacking is unarmed, based on the comments that you saw and you told me, these people will follow this man blindly like the Pied Piper, and that's not good. You said that you were reading the comments on that choke video that nobody was even questioning, well, what if the guy countered? What if the guy did this? They were all just like, oh, what beautiful technique. Oh, yeah, this is going to work. Wow, that's scary. It's almost like brainwashing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it shows people don't have the experience, or they only have the sport experience, and what they're seeing would work great for the sport, but they're not like, hey, my groin is right there where you can grab it.
Yeah.
Or they're not thinking, you know, full spectrum as far as what they're at risk for.
Well, and that comes again from a lot of off-limit targets in training. Cupping of the ears, the eyeballs, ripping, biting, groin strikes, weapons. If you were doing all of these techniques, like with the ripping videos, okay, when I made that ripping series many years ago, I specifically said that these techniques are not designed to replace wrestling or boxing or whatever. They're used for augmentation. But believe me, it will change the outcome of some certain grappling matches. Period. Okay? I don't care how they try to spin. And I remember back then people would say, well, that's not using technique, that's cheap. No, that is technique. I mean, and that exposes your technique, okay? The limits of your technique, okay? If you got the world's greatest armbar, let's say, but it's so easily countered by a thumb in the eye or what have you, how great of an armbar technique is that? And I don't care whose armbar it is, mine, yours, anybody in the world. This you have to take into consideration. But you can't just go in there saying, I don't need to know these arm bars, I'll just thumb somebody in the eye. No, that's not going to work. And that's part of the problem with some self-defense schools. They want to rely on these little tricks. Tricks aren't going to work. Tricks are for kids. Wasn't that a cereal? You can't rely on that. You have to have good ability. And that comes from proper training, good sparring. But you have to also just broaden your horizons and think outside of the box. What?
No.
Don't look at me like that. Yeah. You're a married guy. Anyway, no, seriously though, guys, this is just the way we think about things here. Reality is not. It's like a reality television show. None of that's really reality. You got to find what reality is. And here in Chicago, with the guns and the murders and the others. There was like 4,000 some odd shootings this year, 2016. Over, what did I say, 4,300 or something like that. Shootings, not just murders, but shootings. What does that tell you? 4,300 times somebody had a gun. Okay? 4,300 times. That's over 10 times a day. 10 times a day, more so. Somebody had a gun and used it. Now when you think about that, that really has to reevaluate the way you think. And I don't want to get into the whole subject now of concealed carry because that's a whole other subject. But anyway, yeah, these are just some food for thought, I guess. Catered by Joe Cardinal, Giuseppe Cardinale, another Italian who's never had real Italian food. But all right, guys, that's it. We'll see you the next time. Thanks.
See you.